Yeah.
Just on Thomas Partey, you mentioned in there before. I think he's only played a full 90 minutes twice since he arrived, which is obviously crazy. Did you see enough in those matches, you think, to think he can really change the dynamic of the team and the way that you play as a group?
Absolutely, and obviously because we are able to watch him in training and who he is as well. I think he's got a different presence. I think he brings something different to the team. It's not just about his talent, it's not about his physicality, it's who he is as a person. And he makes players better around him, and that's a big...
difficult time to move countries, move clubs, try and settle in somewhere during, I think, what's now probably his third lockdown. How hard has that been, do you think, psychologically for him? Have you had to manage him differently or be careful with him around that side of things as well as his injuries?
Yes, because when you are injured, you feel first of all the responsibility. When the club had made the effort that we made to sign him, he was so willing for months to be joining us. He really wants to be a part. He knows how much he can help. And then he had to deal with the injuries and with the lockdown and moving into a new place. And that's been tough for him. That's why sometimes he was rushing and he wanted to do everything straight away because he's so willing to come back. He doesn't want to be alone at home. He's in a really good place. To be fair, he sets up really well in the dressing room. Around the staff, he's a special character, and hopefully we can see him on the pitch finally.
You mentioned just a few minutes ago he tested negative for COVID. Was there a COVID issue with Thomas?
No, it wasn't. No.
Okay, cool. And just lastly for me, I was hoping to ask you briefly about Shkodran Mustafi, who's obviously hardly played in the league this season. His contract's coming to an end. Do you expect him to leave this month, or would you rather keep him there as backup until the end when he can go as a free?
Well, Musti came back from a really difficult injury when he got injured at the end of last season. Up to that period, I think he was doing really well. I think his performances were increasing and getting better and better. And when he came back, it was the moment when we had 7 or 8 central defenders. So he had to get his performance level up. I think physically still needed some time. Then he started to play some games in Europe, which I think he did well as well. And now it's about, when do you make the next step to be the starter? And the reality is that we have to change that for different reasons, use different personnel. He's been very close in a few games, but now we found as well a partnership that is giving us clean sheets, and sometimes when you do that, it's difficult to change, but he's still in contention.
And as for his future, obviously contract's running out. What do you think will happen with that
His
one?
future right now is here and trying to help. We have Papas that probably is going to leave the club in this window. We have William that is already gone on loan. So we don't have that many right now. Gavi's been out now for a period. David has been injured. So the situation is completely different to before.
Okay, thanks, Mikel.
Thank you.
Just looking at the league table, I mean, this year, the last few years, the title race has almost been over by this time of the year. This time it's so tight and no one's been any consistency at all. Why do you think that is? Is it because of the special circumstances of the fixture list this season?
I think so. I think the teams are not as consistent because everything around is not as consistent. We had to change everything. All the protocols that we had, for example, to start a season with a pre-season, it didn't exist. We had 2 training sessions before we played the Community Shield, and then we started to play the league. The squads that we have to manage this year are bigger than ever. The restriction we have for training to preparation, they are stringent. There is no crowds. There is a lot going on. And maybe you can sustain that for a few months. When it goes down to 10, 12 months, is more complicated. And you see it in other leagues as well. You see the league tables in other leagues, and there is not any precedent in football like this. So it has to be something. We can imagine that there are things related to that, Nick, but it's difficult to say it's exactly that because it's the first time it happened. But something is going on, that's for sure.
I mean, 2 weeks ago, people were talking about you being in a relegation battle. You win your next 3 or 4 games, and suddenly you're looking at the top 4. Is that an unrealistic target for where you are at the moment?
Right.
do you sort of take a bit of heart from someone like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Because I mean, when you beat them only 2 months ago, everyone was writing off Man United and slagging them off, and now this week they could suddenly go top of the league.
This industry works like that. We are just based on results, and if you are guided by that, a game that is a very low score game, it's very dangerous into it, because the margins to win or lose is one goal. In other sports, it doesn't happen.
But have you sort of sensed a change of mood around the club as a result of winning 4 games?
Yes, because as we talked in previous weeks, I think winning brings you something that even not playing well, everything is so positive and fluid and energy is good, and losing is just a devastating thing to have around the place, and it's what it is.
Thank you.
Thanks. Hello.
I just wanted to ask you about David Luiz, because he's obviously been out with illness and he came back in at the weekend alongside a new partner, Pablo Mari, and looked so assured. Just how impressed with you with him, and how impressed have you been this season when he's been playing with different partners at the back?
Well, David had a really difficult season because he had 3 different things that have kept him away from training and game, which is unusual on him because normally he's always available. He had to deal with that, and then he had to play the other day after 2 weeks periods or 2.5 periods, and he had to play 120 minutes, and I think he was exceptional. Just the way he handled the game against a difficult number 9 like Andy Carroll, and to play for 120 minutes as well at his age without no much training was a real test, and I really like what he did.
I mean, we obviously see him on the pitch and what he offers there, but around the training ground, what sort of character is he and what does he bring to the group?
He's fantastic. He's one of the leaders in the dressing room. He's one of the most experienced players. He's won everything in the game. It's so good with the young kids, with all this generation that you see when you look at people who can help and be a role model. He's always with them, he's always supporting them, give them confidence, give them advice. So it's great to have someone like him around.
I mean, he's got 6 months left on his deal. He can talk to clubs abroad. Have you spoken about his future? Is there any chance he could do another year at Arsenal?
We will see what happens. There is a lot of things happening around the club, a lot of decisions to make. I don't want to rush any decisions. I just want players to be focused. They know that they have 6 months left or 8 months left, whatever it is, some of them a year. They know that the contracts are like that. We cannot change them. We cannot change all the contracts right now. I think it's time to be focused. We've been through a difficult period in the last few weeks, and I want just people to focus in football. If you do what you have to do in the football pitch, you will deserve the chance to keep with us if this is what you want.
Thanks, Mikel.